The building was built in the early 1900s. It's about 1910. We're in an area in Montreal called Westmount, which is an older part of the city. It's a lot of Victorian architecture and traditional homes. I like older homes, places with history. I like creaky floors. I just like places that have soul and character and traditional details like mouldings and picture rails and things like that. I think it's important if you're going to be what some would call a maximalist when it comes to decorating. I don't really think I'm a true maximalist, but I definitely like my things, my tchotchkes, my objects. I think it's important to let them breathe. When things are too cramped together, you can't really appreciate them. And if everything is pushed up against the walls, it doesn't really give a room a sense of proportion. It allowed for more of a comfortable seating arrangement. It makes it a little bit more cozy, more intimate if everything was pushed to the extremities of the room. So it was sort of about making a more focused conversation area, but still having room around the room to breathe and walk around. In the living room, we did Asphalt by Benjamin Moore, which is a bit of a chameleon color because here it reads a bit green, but throughout the hallway and into the entryway, it reads much more gray. So depending on the lighting, the time of day, it kind of takes on a life of its own, which I love with paint. I think the reason why we left the wood trim is because I like that about it. I like things to be natural. I don't like painted woods as much. I also think it's more in keeping with the character of the building to keep it that way. So we went with a lot of dark colors throughout the space that kept all the trim the original wood color. I wanted the dining room, again, to be very moody and dramatic. It's not a room that you're going to use typically during the day. It's something you're going to use when you're entertaining, when you have friends over. So I wanted a little bit of drama in there, which is why we went with that dark plum color on the walls. Again, the furniture placement was important to sort of let the room breathe. I didn't want it set up like a typical dining room with just a table and a credenza, which is why I put the bookcases in there. I think books are important in a home. Aesthetically, I think they're beautiful. There's always room for another one. And when it comes to cocktails, well, if you're having people over, I think it's always important to offer them a drink. When it comes to art, I gravitate towards what I love. I don't think you should just buy something because it necessarily fits the space. I think you should have a reaction to it. I do like the mix of a traditional home with more contemporary works or vice versa. I didn't want it to look like I just walked into an older space and inherited someone's grandmother's Victorian portraits. So I mixed it in more photography, more eclectic artwork for that reason. I didn't want to do gallery wall styles in every single room, so I sort of treated the den that way. I focused on a similar subject. I did more photography, a lot of black and white, some more nautical portraits, hunting scenes, and that's something that constantly evolves over time. Every time I buy something, I know that I can find a spot for it in that room, even if it doesn't work in the rest of the space. The bedroom is probably one of my favorite spaces in the apartment. I wanted something that felt very personal. It's also one of the first rooms you see as you come into the apartment. So I wanted that first glimpse to not necessarily look like a typical bedroom. I didn't want the bed to be visible. So you sort of walk in and you see a highboy dresser and some artwork. And then obviously the focal point of the room is the bed itself. It's upholstered in a wild chevron pattern, but then I try and tone it down with the bedding. The challenges primarily are the fact that because this is a rental, we're limited in exactly what we can do with it. We can't change the layout, so the space is as it is. The biggest challenge was storage. There's very little of it here, so everything has to have a place. I find a way to make everything look pretty presentable. It's a challenge when I bring home a new box or trinket to try and balance it on an already busy tablescape, but it's constantly moving things around.